kamera. Okay, thank you. Uh, let's start our lecture today by each group to present their assignment on mobile security. So let's start with group 3. So, Jonathan, Wildegret, and Renara, please present your assignment. Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, I could.
Okay, let me start. Okay, good morning, friends, and good morning, sir. Today we're gonna to present our work. Okay, let me start. For this assignment, our group used my smartphone, and my smartphone is Apple iPhone 8. And these are the iPhone 8 specification.
Can you
let's
enlarge the text a bit? It's too small for my screen.
okay, so is
Okay,
it okay?
good. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. Good, thank you.
These are the iPhone 8 specification. Okay, we go to the iPhone 8 issues. The software problem. The first is at the end of last July, Apple released the iOS 14.7.1 update for iPhone. Problem with latest iOS update are felt by iPhone users when the Apple smartphone have connectivity problems. So after the iPhone was updated, iOS to version 14.1, 14.7.1, the average of iPhone user found the status no service. So user lost the cellular signal on their cell phone. The bug seems not to not only affect only certain models because it is reported over various types of iPhones, ranging from older models such as the iPhone 7 to the latest models such as iPhone 12. From no service, there are reports that the iPhone does not display that status. But the cellular connection is unstable, experiencing problem like suddenly drop call. How to solve this no service at the latest I update this? First, check the network first. Make sure that your device is in the area that gets operator cellular signal coverage, and then turn off and turn on cellular data by going to settings, setting menu, and go to cellular or cellular data, and also go to the setting to the toggle to the left to disable and vice versa to activate. Second, user can update current setting. Make sure the device is connected to a Wi-Fi or mobile network. Tap settings into general and upload. If an update is available, an option appears to update the carrier settings. The last thing, to see the version of carrier setting on the device, tap settings, general, and menu bar. Then look next to the carrier. The third step is remove the SIM card and reset the network. The next way is to remove the SIM card and put it back in its original place. Apple also recommends to resetting the network by going settings, general, reset to and reset network. A new problem on the software error was found on the iOS 15 software update. iPhone user get a warning message like iPhone store armor full in the setting column, even though the cell phone they use still have enough storage space. How to fix this error? Knowing the bug, Apple immediately took action to fix it, reporting the had through its Apple support service instruct user to restart the device. However, this is said not to be able to solve the full iOS 15 storage bug problem. Apple itself has recently released the iOS 15.1 beta update for developer, but it is not yet known whether the update contains an update that can solve the bug or not.
Okay.
The other problem is hardware problem. The hardware problem on iPhone 8 is the iPhone 8 battery is so much draining, like in low battery. The battery for iPhone 8 is much better than iPhone 7 because the older models and thanks to a larger battery and more efficient A11 chip. But there are complaints about abnormal battery drain in iPhone 8. With a lot of criticism results from the iOS update, the solution is the first one. We update to the latest iOS version. If you haven't already, the battery drain problem on iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 will be resolved through a software update. The second one, diagnosis of use. The step is go to settings and then battery and then check for apps consuming too much power. If so, update, uninstall or replace them. The third one, go to settings, battery and enable power mode in such way as to increase iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 battery life. This is done at the expense of total deletion of emails, Siri, background app, refresh, automatic downloads, visual effects, and more. The fourth step is to check out all the tips to increase iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 battery life. And then we got Bluetooth cannot connect problem on iPhone 8. Bluetooth not working issues is one of the most common iPhone problems, and iPhone 8 owners are already having problems connecting iPhone 8 to Bluetooth, whether with third-party wireless headphones or car. Some users have also noticed a lot of battery drain while using it. The solution is the first one, you can reboot the iPhone 8 or iPhone 10. Second one, turn Bluetooth off and on again. The third one, we disconnect iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 with Bluetooth device and plug it back in. For the fourth, we reset the network setting, or you can just go to the settings and then general and then you press reset and reset network settings. You can also solve iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 problems by updating to iOS 11 as it makes some improvement to performance and Bluetooth connection to third-party accessories. The sixth one, you can use a lightning cable or a better quality cable if there is a fast battery discharge on the iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 and Bluetooth connection. The seven, you can factory reset iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 to see if the iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 issues is fixed.
Then the last problem for iPhone 8 is app problem. This problem occurs on the latest WhatsApp update and using iPhone iOS 14.7.1 or also previous version, where the send document on WhatsApp for iPhone users is disappeared. In the section that should be used to send document instead, the share extension icon or sharing mode appears with continues to share mode to several select application or contacts, especially for the mode of sending photos and videos that have previously been saved to iCloud Drive or other service in the Files application as for documents such as PDF or doc. They can still be sent and displayed to the send button. The solution for this problem is WhatsApp is already aware of this issue and the fix will be shared soon. Quoted from the Twitter account at WA Beta Info, reportedly that WhatsApp Beta update aka the trial version of iOS version 2.21.160.11 has brought a fix for this problem. If iPhone users experience this system bug, there are some tips that can be tried. One of them is to remove WhatsApp from the application that is running in background and open it. Second one is next tip is to try to send the document several times so that the second pattern appears. The second problem is iMessage not working on iPhone 8. Apple discussion forums and social sites like Reddit continue to fill up with complaints surrounding the problem plaguing iPhone 8 users. They complain that the message appeared in the green-blue button out of the blue. We offer hands-on troubleshooting tips to help you fix when it stops working on iPhone 8. The solution of this problem is first restart your iPhone, second go to settings, then message, turn off iMessage and reboot. The third step is go to settings, message, and then go to send and receive. Tap the phone button to activate iMessage properly. Then sending message as iMessage or MMS requires a Wi-Fi or cellular data connection, so check your internet connection. To have more troubleshooting, please go directly to Apple's support page. That's all for us, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I understand that these all are the problems that has been experienced by iPhone 8 and various version of the operating system, the iOS. But the question for the assignment was, what's the security threats or the security risk with all of this error? So what's the answer for that? Because all your presentation only show the problems, but you didn't show any security related problems. Any response from group 3?
I think about the security problem. I have read some article from Insider, if I'm not mistaken, that Apple iPhone has a major blinking red flag alarm with problem with iMessage security. And the problem is, I just only know the headline and didn't know the specific
Okay, but
problem.
that's actually the one that you should write and present. Okay, so it's not just problem. I know all technological products, in fact, any products will have problems. But in this assignment, I ask you to present the security problems. Okay, thank you, Group 3. So, Group 2, you're next.
Good morning, sir and friend. To start our presentation, the device that we use is iPhone 6 Plus that still use iOS 14.4. And to start off our presentation, the first one is the general security problem on iOS. First, Apple in historical slow to offer patch that are for known vulnerability fixed in the open source component. For example, one of the first exploits used to enable jailbreaking was a known flaw in a common software library used for displaying TIFF image. Since this flaw was patched on for other platforms long before the iPhone, it provided attackers a direct roadmap into the iPhone. Secondly, Apple also patched their own software flaws on different schedules for different platforms, potentially exposing users to more risk. For example, Apple sometimes patch security flaws for the Mac version of Safari before fixing the same flaws for mobile Safari. These process-related issues likely represent the single greatest combined security risk for iOS device. Every time some vulnerability is patched on other platform, either an open source component or a piece of Apple proprietary software, it may give attacker another way to exploit iOS device. Apple faced several additional security challenges, most notably since the breaking relies on the exploitation of security vulnerability. Anytime a new jailbreak is released, it may provide attacker with yet another way to attack iOS device. In some cases, this isn't a major concern since jailbreaking relies on physical control of the device. But as the jailbreak.com site shows, this exploit can sometimes be activated simply by browsing a web page. Even if cyber criminals aren't willing to put in the hard work to break into iOS device, jailbreakers are, and once a jailbreak is released, the bad guys are free to turn it into an offense weapon. And this is the security problem inside the iOS 14.4. For example, is the Bluetooth. A remote attacker may be able to cause arbitrary code execution, or we know it as being hacked. And another example is ImageIO. Processing a maliciously crafted image may lead to a denial of service. And the last example is, let's say, message. A malicious application may able to leak sensitive user information, and for the rest, we can see it from the table.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is security problem in the application. First is Shopee. There are cases of leakage of phone number when making online transaction, and many fraud modes that cause the Shopee Pay balance in the Shopee application to be drained. The two is WhatsApp. Spyware virus attack via WhatsApp bug. A bug or a gap in the audio calling feature of the WhatsApp application has allowed the hacker to install software in the form of spyware into an Android or iOS phone simply by making an audio to the target. This spyware can access user data such as logs, text, email, contacts, and the location of the target. The software can also activate the camera and microphone. The three is TikTok. TikTok revealed the biggest weakness of their app. The weakness is the security system that was broken into by hackers. And the part is fine. There is a data problem when message content in the line is leaking. Law enforcement agency in Taiwan are also investigating this cyber attack. And the last one is Peduli Lindungi. Currently, Peduli Lindungi application is an application that must be owned by the Indonesian people. Peduli Lindungi issue include terms of use that do not guarantee that the service was always be accessed and does not guarantee accurate and safe data.
The last one is the solution. First, for the developer. Perhaps a better solution would be for Apple to get rid of yearly monolithic release and focus on slower development cycle. There should be a focus on stability and performance and on giving developers a platform to build apps and make new features secondary. While we are on the subject of developers giving them more than 24 hours notice then a new version of iOS is landing would be a good idea, because that would give those developers a chance to get their apps ready for the new release. Another option might be for Apple to stagger release or give users an option to jump onto a fast cycle, and for Apple to support the older version of iOS for a few months alongside the new release. Second is for the user. For the iOS user, we think it's better to follow up the newest version of the iOS, because Apple provides updates to address security issues from previous versions. Apple has released iOS 15.0 and it comes with a warning for all iPhone users to update now. That's because iOS 15.0 fixed a security vulnerability that attackers may already be using to attack iPhones. Third is for the application. So every application always strives to protect the data security of its user. This can be proven by the release of the latest version of its application with fix from the security problems. When the latest app version is released, the system asks users to immediately upgrade their app to newer one to protect users against potential data privacy exploits. From the user side, we should be aware about the crimes, especially security fraud that may threaten our data. We can do this by maybe not sharing our password, not using the same password in multiple accounts, not providing the verification code needed to log in to just anyone. So if there is a data leak by a hacker, it is recommended to report the problem to the authorities. That's all from Group 2. Thank you.
Okay, good. I especially like the list of vulnerabilities that you showed earlier about the iPhone and iOS. And regarding the jailbreak vulnerability, jailbreak is not currently, I think, is not really recommended by Apple. I mean, it was not intended to be used by Apple. So if the users decided to jailbreak their iOS devices, that's on the user. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the warranty of Apple devices would be voided if the user jailbreak it. It's just like when you purchase a car, all the equipment in that car was designed for that particular car, standard from the factory. But then if you modify the engine, for example, to increase the power significantly, and then when you use that car, it's overspeeding and the original brake for that car could not stop it on time and you involved in accident, then it was the fault of the driver who modified the engine, not the car manufacturer. Okay. Why? Because it was not intended for modification. Okay, that's good. Okay, last but not least, Group 1. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Samyati and friends. Today we are going to presenting about Samsung Galaxy A70. This is the specification. You can see. And also for the treatment of software, all types of Samsung phones, including the Samsung A70, use Android software. The Android OS has the nature of an open source platform that is constantly updating. This is why it continues to be subject of targeted malware efforts. Software upgrades that Samsung always provide for users are indeed beneficial for improving mobile phone performance. This malware is usually distributed through an application called System Update, and actually users cannot download this kind of application through the Google Play Store. If the user is not careful and unknowingly install these apps, the malware can reactive the data on the phone and send it to the malware server operator. This application can steal contacts, message, take photo using the camera, record calls, or even activate the microphone. Many Android users install unofficial applications on their smartphones, and they do not even care about where they get the application source files. Android is known as software that has low security compared to the other software such as iOS. Samsung should immediately consider this by tightening software security. Software with a high level of security will quickly detect a software threat on a smartphone so that user can quickly anticipate the presence of dangerous malware. User data security should be Samsung's top priority. Therefore, users should not install applications on Samsung phones from unknown source.
I will explain for the hardware. Samsung is known as a technology company that is somewhat more advanced than the other smartphone companies. Unfortunately, in this digital era, the Samsung A70 is not yet equipped with the NFC feature. This feature has many functions, such as making payments by simply holding the phone near the payment scanner. In addition, top up and checking balances on e-money cards can use the NFC feature on mobile phones. This is quite disappointing since Samsung always provides the best technology and is superior to than the other smartphone brands. Samsung should immediately upgrade the advanced features on its smartphones to remain competitive in the smartphone market and have a plus so that customers are still interested in buying their products. The Samsung A70 doesn't have a waterproof and anti-dust claim of IP65, IP67, and IP68 types, where many smartphones today should have this claim. This causes the users to be more careful in using a smartphone by using a hard case so that the smartphone can still be well protected. The subsequent weakness in the in-display fingerprint sensor technology on the smartphone, which is less responsive and sometimes fails to be detected. Compared to the other smartphones that have sensors on the screen, the quality of the Galaxy A70 sensor is relatively low. Users will have difficulty using fingerprints when they want to unlock their smartphones. To fix this problem, we can make a backup password other than fingerprint so that the users can keep their cell phone open when the sensor has a problem. The smartphone has 128 GB of internal memory and 8 GB of RAM. Nowadays, user applications tend to download many applications on smartphones that require large storage, especially for gamers, because the game file size on a smartphone is very large. Even the 128 GB internal storage is not enough to accommodate all downloaded games applications. Samsung is very brilliant in responding to this situation. They provide an external micro SD memory slot of up to
512 GB so that users don't have to worry about the memory being full quickly, and it makes users can use the smartphone in the next few years. The battery belonging to the Galaxy A70 is not yet supported by the wireless charging technology. Still, it has been supported by the ability to the fast charging feature, which users can purchase separately. Although it has 3 cameras, there is no advanced camera feature such as the optical image stabilization and electronic image stabilization. These features play an important role so that the photos taken are in good quality, not inferior to DSLR cameras. Besides, the stabilization features help users when taking pictures or recording videos so that the recording remains stable, like using a stabilizer tool. In our opinion, Samsung needs to pay more attention to the camera features on smartphones, considering that the main factor for buyers to buy smartphones is the camera's quality.
Nowadays, many smartphone users are more inclined to use many applications. This is where the application used by the user consists of many types, such as applications for social media, games, doing tasks, editing, and etc. With the increasing number and development of technology, the risk or danger behind it also increased. Many applications are provided for users from official or unofficial parties. It's time to confuse smartphone users to determine which application is good to support their daily life. It is even in official party application providers, we still can find many applications that turn out to be dangerous if used by smartphone users, especially Android users. And of course, there are certainly more dangerous applications that you can find from unofficial third-party application providers. An example of a cyber threat that threatens a smartphone user is a man in the middle, where smartphone users are using public Wi-Fi. Where this attack allows hackers to find out what online activity you are doing. Then there is also mobile spyware. It's a software that is installed secretly to the monitor or Android user behavior on mobile device. With this attack, the hackers can find out various activity carried on the mobile device, such as on history, message, contents, context, photo, password, and many more. Hackers will usually send malware through application or third-party software, and also phishing. Via phishing email, hackers will send malicious links to steal very sensitive data like password, credit card, or even send malware to your device. And there is many other type threats that are dangerous for the smartphone user. Then there are some real examples from the case that happened a while ago, such as in May 2020, millions of Tokopedia e-commerce user accounts were suspected to have been leaked. In fact, according to rumors, hackers have sold the Tokopedia database of 91 million accounts for $5,000 on the dark web. Meanwhile, his party claims that the hacker has been carried out since March 2020. Then, Kaspersky said that there is a popular application that contains malware such as camera scanner. According to him, hackers share important data such as financial or bank account information on the smartphone. Then they can use it to steal money or make transactions without the victim knowing through the smartphone earlier. And there are many more cases of crimes in application on smartphone that happen a lot whether we realize it or not. And steps that we can take to prevent this crime are to not use the pirate app from unknown source, update software regularly, change password regularly, backup data regularly, whether it documents such as photo, music, videos, or other. Ignore email attachment and suspicious URLs, web addresses, do not share personal information. Always be alert and do not trust anyone easily. Reliable email and telephone website and all advertisement scattered on the internet. I think that's all, sir.
Okay, good. Just a moment. Okay. Sorry, there was somebody at my door. Okay, that's good. And obviously, with Android, the problem was Android is an open source. Okay, so anybody can just download the Android and install it on their mobile phone. And that was intended by Google actually for spreading Android. It's different from iOS that Apple has some limitation on iOS that they create the hardware and they specify the hardware and they install the iOS on that hardware. Even you are not allowed to install iOS outside Apple provided hardware. That's I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've been seeing that in one of the end users license agreement for iOS. Now, that's become a problem for big companies like Samsung. They can create a secure version of Android, okay, but for smaller company, they probably not. Okay, not as good as Samsung anyway. And then when I saw the present about the lack of some features in Galaxy A something, right? I can't remember what. Okay. The answer to that problem is simple. Don't buy that. Buy the Galaxy S series. Then you will have waterproofing. You will have optical image stabilization, things like that. The problem with those technologies, they are expensive, while the Galaxy A was intended for mid, or what do you call it? It is for the consumer that could not afford the S series. So, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Okay, now, so just a moment, I need something. Sorry for that. Okay, so let's start with our material topics today, which is the achieving operational excellence and customer intimacy enterprise application. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen? The PowerPoint, I mean.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, enterprise application. When we talk about enterprise, we talk about the company that has many divisions, that has many subsidiaries, that probably has multiple business. We talk companies like Astra International, we talk company like Pertamina, for example, we talk company like Unilever, and many other enterprises. If you remember, the accounting information systems topics about the transaction processing cycles. There are revenue cycles, there are expenditure cycles, human resource, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Sorry. Then you probably remember that those are transaction processing within a company. Now imagine that this company, like say Pertamina, they have specific division for expenditure, for obtaining fuel. Then they have specific division for converting not fuel, but raw oil. And then they will have specific division to change that or to manufacture fuel from that raw oil. And then they have another division, subsidiary in fact, to sell that fuel to customer. So just one cycle require a whole division or a whole subsidiary to do it. So the problem with enterprise is how to coordinate among those activities, because you will have 1,000 people thousands of processes that working on specific cycles. And the problem with that would be how to coordinate all those activities into achieving operational excellence. Okay, so if you remember again, while we were learning about accounting information system, we learned about MRP and MRP2. MRP is material requirements planning. MRP2 is manufacturing resource planning. And then MRP2 evolved into enterprise resource planning. So sorry. While MRP and MRP2 focus on inventory planning, inventory management, and also manufacturing management, ERP expand those MRP2 to include any other activities. And if you remember the Porter value chain model, where a company can be identified its activities based on first primary activities and the second supporting activities, ERP using that model. So there will be manufacturing process, primary activities, and also any other supporting process like accounting, human resource, research and development, things like that. So all those modules, all those activities were created as the base for software that created for this ERP. So the model would be like this. Okay, so there will be a module for finance and accounting. There will be module for sales and marketing, manufacturing and production, and then human resource. All those modules will have centralized database. So every transaction, for example, some salesperson here receive order for a product from customer. The salesperson enter that order into the system. Immediately, the order will be stored in the centralized database. The manufacturing will have access to that order. So the manufacturing and production immediately know that there is a order, and then they should manufacture that product. The human resource will be notified that there is a sales by this particular salesperson, so they will start calculating the commission for the salesperson, perhaps, or to see with that sales how many percentage of target has been achieved by this particular salesperson for performance evaluation. And then when the manufacturing starting to plan the production, the human resource already know how many workers needed by manufacturing. And then at the same time, finance and accounting will be able to generate invoice for this customer. So that's the idea of centralized database. Without sales and marketing have to contact its department here, they can find out from the centralized database what need to do. Okay. So it's just like when you go to any fast food restaurant and then the cashier entered your order, it will immediately appear on the kitchen so they can prepare it for you. Yeah. In fact, that's how every modern restaurant works. The waiter will enter your order to computers, and then the order will appear on the kitchen. The kitchen staff will prepare your food, your order, and then once the order ready, they will notify the waiter to pick up the food and deliver it to you. Okay. Now, most of the time, this ERP consists of these core modules. There are other additional modules. We will discuss that later. And usually the best practice for implementing enterprise system is to start with one module, and then after it's finished and succeed, they can move to another module. In Indonesia, particularly, this module is usually the first one being implemented. Why? Because with finance and accounting, there are very small differences among companies. Remember that in Indonesia, we already adopted the international accounting standard, okay? And therefore, theoretically at least, the accounting process and also the financial report in Indonesia has the same standard as in the European Union, as in UK and any other countries that have adopted international accounting standard. Okay, and then they can start with, after they finish financial accounting, usually in practice, it took about maximum of 18 months for implementing finance and accounting. Okay. And then they can start with others, sales and marketing, perhaps human resource. Okay, human resource is not really complicated, especially with the administration side, because the regulation in Indonesia is similar. Okay, the workers have right for paid leave. For female workers, they have right for paid maternity leave, things like that. Okay. The most diverse and probably most complex part of enterprise system would be in manufacturing and production, because each company have their own manufacturing process. Okay. So how the ERP producer or vendor or developer could come up with ERP? First, ERP producer did some research. They gather all the business process, thousands of business process from all around the world that deemed as the best practice. They observe, for example, what is the best process for cash sales? What is the best process for payroll? What is the best process for buying merchandise? So they accumulate all this process from their research, and then they evaluate the processes, and then they came up with a predefined business process that reflect best practice. Okay, so when a company need to implement enterprise software, what they did was to document the old business process and then map that business process into the ERP business process, and then to see whether or not they can customize the ERP, or should they change their business process to suit the ERP. Okay, so that's why implementation is a bit problematic and complex and need time. But for accounting and finance, because the process for accounting and finance usually standardized all over the world, it took a very short time compared to the others. Pertamina, for example, they started to use ERP in 2000, and they finished the manufacturing implementation in 2010. Krakatau Steel, I know about Pertamina because one of my students did her research there. Krakatau Steel, for example, they implement ERP, and one of the sub-modules for ERP is for managing the materials in the factory floor. So this is sub modules. And for that, for managing the materials flow in the factory plant, they need about a year to implement that. Again, this is based on my other students' research. Okay, so that's how difficult ERP is. That's why ERP would be only feasible and cost-effective if it is implemented by a big company. Okay, So what's the business value of enterprise system? Increase operational efficiency, provide firm-wide information. Okay, so anybody who need that information can have access immediately. As soon as an order being entered into the system, it will be available to any others that need it. There is an analytical tool to evaluate overall organizational performance and improve decision making. Okay, now that's the internal part of ERP that consists of 4 modules. I mentioned earlier in passing that there are other modules. The first other modules is the supply chains. This is the modules to extend ERP capabilities to the supplier side. Okay. Remember, one of the Porter strategic plan for winning the competition is to increase the intimacy with supplier, and supply chain management system is the way to go. Okay, so what is supply chain? We will discuss this. Supply chain is a network of organization and process for procuring materials, transforming material into products, and distributing the product. So like this one. Okay. Nike, for example, when Nike produce their sneakers, they will try to get the materials from many of their supplier. Their supplier will have suppliers, and the suppliers will have suppliers that gather the materials from the nature. So from the suppliers to the manufacturers is called the upstream. And then from the manufacturer to the customer is called the downstream. Within the manufacturer itself, there is an internal supply chain. For example, BMW. BMW cars, for example, the engine block was made in the factory in Landshut, Germany. And its engine block then will be sent to the BMW manufacturing plant in Munich, again, still in Germany, but 2 different cities. In Munich, the engine block will be built into a complete engine. And then the complete engine will be sent to the car assembly plant, which is in Spartanburg. Spartanburg is in South Carolina, USA. So just for one BMW cars, it involves 3 different manufacturing plants in 2 different countries and 2 different continents. And that still count as internal. Here. So there is upstream, there is downstream, and there is internal. You probably will not able to recognize what's the origin of a product that you enjoy every day. For example, in some supermarket, if you shop in that supermarket, there are some supermarket that still provide plastic bags. Okay, but the plastic bag, especially with the new plastic bag, it's so thin and flimsy. It's not as strong as the old plastic bag. Why? Because the plastic bag was made from different material from the old plastic bag. The old plastic bag made from plastic, obviously, but the plastic itself, the traditional plastic, was made from oil. Raw oil, similar basic ingredients like our fuel, okay, the one that goes into your motorcycle or car. The new plastic came from renewable sources, which is sometimes usually it's either soy or cassava roots, or even in some cases I found plastic made from corn. Okay, That's why the new plastic can be degraded by bacteria in 2 years, while the old plastic probably will stay as long as we live. Okay, so inefficiency in supply chain can waste up to 25% of operating expenses. Okay, so that's quite a big number. Okay, and the problem with another problem with supply chain is what it called as bullwhip effect. Okay, and especially if supply chains cross, like Nike here, for example, it crossed the boundary of nations or countries. Okay, the Nike manufacturing plant itself is distributed in a few countries, like in Indonesia, and it will be sold somewhere in, I don't know, perhaps Europe, things like that. I remember many years ago, you probably still infant. I went to Spain and visited the Real Madrid Stadium, the Santiago Bernabeu. And when I visited the souvenir shop, I already had my eyes on a shirt that it was number, I can't remember the number, but it was the number of my one soccer player that or football player that I like is Steve McManaman. You probably don't know him. So I already get that, and I prepare to queue to the cashier to pay it, and then I look at the labels of this. You know what the label said? It was said made in Indonesia. So all the way in Spain, in Madrid, I was preparing to pay like 150 euro for that shirt, and yet it said made in Indonesia. So I just cancel my purchase. Okay? I put it back on display and I walk away. Okay. So, okay, that's to illustrate that supply chain can cross national border. Okay. The problem with crossing national borders is our uncertainty. Okay. Like now, if you read the world news, there is a problem with sending products to the US. What's the problem? There were delay in processing the shipment in the American port. So all the product from Asia sent to the US will go into 2 ports, seaport in US, which is the Los Angeles seaport and San Diego seaport. And currently there was a huge delay. The shipment that usually take about 2 weeks can now wait until 3 months, for example. So that's another problem with supply chain management, and it has safety stock. Remember, we talked about safety stock. We keep some level of inventory to deal with uncertainty, to deal with if the supplier failed to send that product on time. So, and that will create bullwhip effect. Okay, let me use this example. Few months ago, when the second wave of COVID cases were on the increase in Indonesia, there was before the PPKM, before the lockdown, there was a rumor that the president, the new president, Pak Jokowi, will have a strict lockdown. So it's just like in our lockdown is actually not that strict. Okay, you should see what they did in Australia, for example. Absolutely no people allowed to go out unless it's for grocery shopping. Even for grocery shopping, they were encouraged to order online and deliver to their house. Emergency, for example, or for essential workers. Other, they have to stay home. And if the authority find out that the person lived at home without any proper excuse, they will get fined. And the fine was not a child's play. It's $5,000 per fine. Anyway, so if we went into the lockdown, we probably will stock up some food. Okay, so let's say instant noodles. On normal day, you would just stock up 10 instant noodles. But since it will be locked down, just in case you want to increase your stock to how much? Say 20, 30, 40, okay? Let's say 40. So 4 times the usual. You went to the supermarket, the retailer here, the supermarket will see this person usually only buy 10, now they buy 40. I better stock up. So if you look at, you already create a different demand from the usual 10 to 40. There are spike here. You went to the retailer will see some other customer also have increased their purchasing, so there will be another spike. Retailer will go to the distributor, say for example, they usually sell 100 instant noodles per week. Now they have 400 sales of instant noodle per week. So they will ask the distributor, not 400, but just in case, 800. So there is another spike. Distributor usually receive 800 order from the retailer. Then they say, okay, so let's order again, but not 800. Say 1,000. So they order 1,000 to the manufacturer. Another spike. Manufacturing receiving 1,000 order, and then let's produce some more. So they asking for materials to produce 2,000 instant noodles, and so on and so forth. So this is the distortion, the spike. This is called the bullwhip effect, because you here or us here keeping up more than usual stock, safety stock, it will create distortion in the actual demand. So that's the problem with supply chains. Okay. Another global supply chains, again, different country will have different requirement, will have different performance standards, will have different infrastructure. Okay. Many years ago, when I did my research, I met with this person in Jogja. He was, I don't know whether he's still in that business, but he was exporting handicrafts, small things, knickknacks, made from woods, bamboo, and all the natural materials. He usually exported that handicrafts to Australia. The problem with Australia is one of the country that quite paranoid about products entering their country. So if it's when I was in Australia, I once went to Australia bringing that little shampoo in little plastic bottles that have different colors and different fragrance, and the shampoo was having a small box made from banana leaves, dried banana leaves. So I went to Australian airport. The custom officer searched for my stuff because I declared it. I brought this. So they examined the shampoo. What happened was they said, okay, the shampoo can enter Australia, but the box made from banana leaf could not enter Australia. It has to be destroyed, they said. Okay, so when you send something to Australia made from woods, bamboo, banana leaf, or something like that, it has to be fumigated, sprayed with anti-bugs medication. Poison is actually poison. So this guy, the person has already have regular export to Australia, and every time he sent the product to Australia, it passed through custom examination without any problems. So he felt confidence because Australia is one of the most tough custom in the whole world. So then one day he received order from Scandinavian country. I can't remember which one, probably Denmark. So he felt confidence. He packed up all the handicrafts and using the same fumigation service certified from Australian government and sent the product using Australian fumigation standard to that Scandinavian country. When it reached Scandinavian country, the custom in that country rejected the shipment and it sent back to Indonesia. Why? Because they said the dosage for fumigation poison was too high for this standard. This illustrates that different countries have different legal requirements, different taxes, different custom payment and things like that. So that could create another problem. Okay. You remember this from accounting purpose system, push-based and pull-based manufacturing. With push-based, you create forecast, and then you create the products, manufacturing, and then push that product to the market. With pull-based, the customer order, and that order will initiate the production process. So when you manage your supply chains properly, it will match the supply to the demand. Okay, so you will have very minimum safety stock, reduce inventory level, obviously, and improve delivery service. Okay, and it can save up to 75% of operating budget. Okay. Now, that's extend to the supplier and to increase the intimacy between the company and their supplier. Another side of that is to increase intimacy with customer, and that's where the customer relationship management play. Okay, the point of customer relationship management is to know the customer and what they need, and then the company could decide what need to do with the customer, what need to be done with the customer in order to satisfy or fulfill their need. Okay. You need to understand your customer, otherwise it will be very, very difficult for your company. Apple is one of the company that understand their customer quite well. Okay. So, customer relationship management will gather data from these three activities, from marketing campaign, to see which marketing campaign can reach the most customer. For example, nowadays, companies tend to avoid newspaper advertising because it's expensive and it's very hard to reach their targeted audience. But with internet advertising, like the one in Google or Facebook, for example, they can target their customer more precisely and cheaper in that way with the same effect. And then there is the sales. Okay, as the result of this marketing effort, customer will buy our product. Okay, and then service. This is for after the sales. Okay. So with customer relationship management, we try to understand the experience of customer before, during, and after purchasing our product. Okay. It can be used for improving the product, for example. And if you have a good support, even though your product was problematic, for example, it could give customer a peace of mind, and then they could have positive view of your product. Okay. For example, I'll use Samsung, for example. My experience with Samsung products, any product, mobile phone, tablets, washing machine, microwave, television, it's all positive. It's because Samsung product have a high quality? Not necessarily. Okay. But they have the best support compared to, for example, Apple. Okay. When my Samsung product had problem, I just can call the service center or visit the service center. And if it's still under warranty, then they will fix it for me free of charge. Okay. For example, once I went to Samsung and because my mobile phone could not charge properly, and they deemed that, oh, this is because of the mobile phone flaw in manufacturing. So they replaced the circuit for free. My wife's speaker on her mobile phone also problematic. They changed that for free. Okay. And they can, this is the one, my experience with Samsung. When I visited their service center, their technicians are very well trained. They knew the problems, they knew how to diagnose, and they knew how to fix it. Apple are different. When my iPad was broken, I went to Apple service store. The problem at that time was my iPad was out of warranty. And they said, no, we can't fix it. You have to buy a new iPad. Okay, so I went to, external service center, and they said, oh, this is because of this part broken, and I have to buy that part for 500,000 and pay that guy to fix my iPad for 200,000. So 700,000 in. Okay, that's out of warranty. I can understand that. But one day, it was my old. I used to have a MacBook Pro for my laptop, and that time Apple released a recall. So they said that the battery in my MacBook Pro has to be replaced. And I was still under warranty at the time. Even if I was out of warranty, Apple will replace my battery for free. Okay, but I'm safe. So I went to I registered for battery replacement, and I got the number, I got the appointment, I got the address of Apple Store. Give it to the person, and he insisted to, and I said, I just want the battery replaced, and he insisted to check all my laptop and said, if there is something wrong with your laptop, we need to replace that with all the spare part, he said. And no, I just want the battery to replace. We have like an argument about half an hour, and I said, no, look, this is the order, this is the letter from Apple USA. I just want the battery replaced. Okay, but we need to scan your laptop. So he scanned my laptop using a software. And you know what? His software was version 3.5. I had similar software, version 4.1. So I had the latest software, he did not. Okay, so after that, after the battery problems, I decided, that's it. I don't want to use Apple product anymore. I replaced my laptop. Okay, so you can compare that. What the Samsung did with my product and what Apple did with my product. Both have a similar price point. In terms of quality, I don't think that they are far apart, but the support from Samsung is way better than Apple. And it's for free. Okay. Okay, that's the value of CRM is to increase customer satisfaction. Again, if even the product itself having problems, knowing that Samsung will replace that for free and no question asked, no fuss, it gives me a peace of mind. And in the future, I will buy Samsung product again, knowing that they have full support for that product. Okay, increase customer satisfaction, and with customer satisfaction, theoretically they will repurchase the same product. They will repurchase from the same company. Okay, and it will decrease the churn rate. Churn rates mean the number of customers who stop using the product or services from a company. Keeping the existing customer, it's much cheaper than acquiring new customers. That's the economic behind that. Okay, that's for the material today. Any questions? Okay, if there is no question, I think that's it for today. Okay. See you on next lecture. Good morning and stay safe.